Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the Mandarin Blueprint podcast. It's just me today. Phil has gone back to the US finally for a well-earned break for a couple of weeks, so it'll just be me. And then after maybe a couple of weeks, I think we're going to have him on live, like via video from Florida, I think. But it doesn't matter. We don't need him. So we've got an interesting show today because I've got some interesting updates. So the first update is we have really made some big changes to our free trial. Now, before, our free trial it included 80 lessons, and we had all these people on the trial, and they weren't progressing. They weren't going through and actually taking the lessons. Now, that's to be expected of any video course. You know, there's only a small amount of people relatively that actually make their way through. But our percentage of people that purchase the Mandarin Blueprint method that actually do something and work their way through is pretty high, you know, compared to other courses that we've experienced. But the free trial was just like, it was a bit strange. So we did some analysis, some research. We got consultation about it. And it's kind of that thing where you get so much choice and so much content. It was basically, I think a lot of people were getting analysis paralysis, or that itch that they had, you know, my Chinese is not good, or I want to learn Chinese and I don't know how. The itch that we scratch, I think we scratched it a little bit too much by giving away too much free stuff, and they either didn't know what to do with it all, so they didn't make any decision to go for it, or they thought, oh, you know, put it aside for another time, which is completely understandable. You know, we all do that, right? So we decided to make some big changes to that. We've made it far shorter. And we've actually got me and Phil guiding the user through. So if you're listening to this and you haven't signed up for the Mandarin Blueprint Method course, any of the subscriptions, I mean, go and try out the free trial. It's very straightforward. It's much, much clearer than it was before, and it's awesome. And in fact, even if you just sign up to the Mandarin Blueprint Method, just pay the money for any of the subscriptions. It's either $30 up front for a month's subscription, or $90 up front for 6 months, so $15 a month, which is the most I guess the most worthwhile option if you're in it for the short term. And we also have a lifetime subscription, if that's sort of thing you might be interested in. But it doesn't really matter whether you take the free trial first, or you sign up, or you sign up late, because we have a 90-day guarantee now. So, and you know, we of course honor that. And if you sign up for any of our subscriptions, use our stuff for 89 days, and they decide, I don't like these guys' faces, or I don't like the materials, or it's not working for me, we'll rush your money back to you. And we'll actually be very interested in that as to why you've done it, because we've had such a high success rate with the course so far. So that's for, I guess, people not on the course. For people on the course, we've made some updates. So we're going to release those EPUBs this week. In fact, by the time this podcast comes out, the EPUBs should be with you. So we're going to put them sort of at the end of the levels in the level reviews. But I think what we'll also do for people already on the course is that we will maybe send a personal email to you so you can download them all in one go, so it's nice and easy for you. So these EPUBs are basically so that you can basically listen to the stories and read the stories, or the dialogues, or the opinions, the paragraphs, all this extra reading and listening content that you unlock after phase 4 and 5 in the course. And you can just have the EPUBs with you, and you can walk and listen and read. Well, don't do that, obviously, if it's dangerous for you. But you can use that, and you can use that to shadow, where you listen and read and speak at the same time, which, as we've talked about several times, is just such an incredibly effective technique. So that's something that we thought we'd add to the course, because, you know, you get everything in your Anki cards, your flashcards, but you might not want to have to access Anki in order to just read the stuff that you want to read. So that's an extra thing that we're going to add in very soon. So, well, by the time this is released, that should be with you. I'm actually working on that today. I'm extra busy because Phil's away. We've also been slowly plugging away at the character expansion. It's probably going to be, so again, for those of you not on the course, we currently cover 600 characters. And it's much deeper than characters, of course, as I just mentioned. We have characters, words, sentences, dialogue, stories, all this stuff. But we have sort of made a pledge to the people on the course already who are our current subscribers. We're going to get that expanded. We're going to go past 600 characters because there's already a handful of people who have made it, despite the fact that we've only released it for a few months. People have already gone through the entire order and learned all the 600 characters and all the, they're working their way through the other content now. So we want to stay ahead of that. We don't just want to focus on getting new clients. We want to focus on serving the ones we currently have, right? So they keep paying that subscription and so that we are worthwhile, worth that monthly price for those people. So we're going to expand it by about 700 characters, as well as all the writing material that comes with that afterwards. But first focus is that, and we're slowly plugging away at it. It's going to take a little bit longer than we said. Probably, I think about 2 months ago we said 3 months. It's probably going to be closer to 5 or 6 because of some delays that we've had. But that is on the way. That is on the way. We're always working on it a little bit every day. So that's about it for the updates. Let's jump into today's content. So as usual, we're going to just go through it by category. So I'm going to start off with props. Props, again, if you don't know any of these different categories that I'm going to mention throughout this podcast, there's always a blog post link in the description, in the show notes. So you can just click on that and get a deeper understanding of what that's all about. Props. We've had quite a lot this week, so I'll try and go through them fairly quickly. Again, if you're not interested in hearing about the props, if that's not something that you need help with or inspiration for, go ahead and skip to the next section, actors or movies. It's all in the show notes, so it's nice and navigatable for you. So the first pick of prop we have here is from CHEN RESSLER for character 143. Now this prop is for the 2 little bamboo bits that are a very common component in characters. And he's decided to go for 2 people practicing kung fu forms together. A form is like a series of kung fu martial art techniques in a row. They do it in lots of different martial arts. So I picture 2 Chinese construction workers with hard hats practicing their kung fu together. Really cool, as usual, from Chad. But one thing is, just because there's 2 symbols doesn't mean you have to have 2 things to represent. Remember, it's seen as one prop. So those 2 symbols, you could have, well, I actually used to have because I used to do martial arts myself back in my teenage years, and I used to use my weapon of choice was the staff, right? So I used that sort of, that floppy staff that the Shaolin monks use. That was mine. It's fine, but either way, I like to keep mine as simple as possible, just one object or one person, but I'm sure that works fine for Chad. Next one is Bran. Bran. I watched Game of Thrones recently. Brad VANT Hull on character number 6. Ban. That's half. Pick a prop. So he says, I understand that ban means half. How does half a fruit resemble what this character and later component looks like? Well, it doesn't. It represents the meaning. So there's 2 ways. We talk about this. You're very early on in the method, so you probably already know this by now. But there's 2 ways that we decided you can pick props, as in objects that represent the components. Based on the meaning, well, actually, there's 3 ways technically. Based on the meaning, based on the appearance, or based on both. So let me explain. So, for example, DÓNG, the 2 little bamboo things, they represent bamboo, right? So you'd have a bamboo staff. That's based on the meaning. Ban means half. So we recommend half a fruit or vegetable or something, probably a fruit, to represent that meaning. But ban, and the reason why we do that is because ban as a component doesn't really look like much, or a character. It's hard to find something that looks exactly like that, or anywhere near similar to it, really. So I'm sure you could eventually if you thought hard enough and long enough, but just keep it simple. And there's another thing as well, like there's a component in JIÀO, like to call someone, that character. It looks very much like a number 4. So you could have, for example, for that, you could have a golf club. 4. So it's sort of based on the meaning and the appearance. Do you see what I mean? So, and these are all loose guidelines. But generally, yeah, those are the 3 ways that you pick props. It's very flexible. Eric Brown on character 187, 可 as in 可以, like able to, pick a prop. And he says, so glad Mr. Meeseeks was in the Anki cards. He's perfect. As you know, because Mr. Meeseeks from Rick and Morty, Phil and I are pretty big fans, Phil especially, of Rick and Morty, and Mr. Meeseeks, you know, I'm not going to do an impression of him because it's just embarrassing. But he always says, can do, like he can do everything, you know, can do. That's this sort of hilarious phrase. So can, that's another example of a prop based on the meaning, right? Yeah, of course. And the next one, another one from Chad, character 151, mo, which means, it's like basically means female. But yeah, it's in like all sorts of different words representing female. Empress Dowager Cixi, I think. I don't know what the tones are for that. She was a mother of Zaichun, who was a young boy when he became emperor. Interesting. She's also an important mother in Chinese history. Yeah, I mean, you know, that these Mo should be a fictional, but I'm sure she's represented in lots of fictional things, so that'll be fine. Great. Chad always uses real Chinese, either actors or people from history or movie, like kung fu movie stars, which is a really good idea. Dev Chen on character 16. JIÀO. This is the character I was talking about with the little number 4 thing. No way. Oh, is that? Yeah, he has actually got the. Yeah, he's talking about that exact same prop, which is really handy because I'm sure some of you listening didn't know what I was talking about. So check the show notes, you can see. JIÀO, pick a prop for that little number 4 thingy. My choice, a tuning fork for a guitar. I don't know what that. I imagine it looks like the tuning fork that I'm thinking of, which is fantastic because you can really easily incorporate sound effects into that, can't you? So a lot of one of the key things about choosing actors, you know, having people and objects, is that you use the characteristics of those people and objects. You employ them in the movies that you shoot to learn the characters. So you can imagine that that tuning fork sound will come into play a heck of a lot, and that'll be really handy. Harry C on character 75, xia, which means down. How about a jackhammer? Shape kind of looks like it, and it goes below the ground. So this is awesome, actually. I haven't actually pre-read this. I probably should have, but I haven't actually pre-read any of this. So this is working out really well to explain my points. Xia, you know, it looks like something underground anyway. It's an ideogram, but it means down. And he's kind of combined that because jackhammers go into the ground, but it does kind of look like a jackhammer as well. So awesome. I imagine jackhammer, I think jackhammer is like a pneumatic drill. I might be wrong, but I'm not going to look that up. But anyway. It works. Well done. Next, we've got another one from Devon on character 14, Cole, mouth. Oh, actually, so yeah, so this one is the pick a prop. So we get really, you know, we get very detailed about this. So this prop here, this kind of like well, it's called a break in Chinese stroke writing. It's just that sort of right angle there. So we get you to pick a prop for that. Oh yeah, we suggest horse's head. It's because it's, well, you'll find out in the course, or you already know. Don Vito Corleone. I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. Right? So anyone who's seen The Godfather knows what I'm talking about. Anyone who hasn't, I'm not going to bother explaining to you. Just go and watch the film. But it is related to a horse's head. Another one from Dev on character 12, as in noon, but this one's for the pick a prop for that little guy at the top, little sort of thing. We say represent a loser because it looks like a man on the ground, just like, whatever. So my choice for Dani Alves, formerly Brazil national team, formerly FC Barcelona, currently PSG. He knows a lot about football, this guy. He's a wonderful player, but also does like to flop quite a bit. Oh, as in like pretend he's injured. And yeah, that's the thing that I always hated about football. And I'm sure a lot of people do, even people that love the game. So that's fantastic. That relates really well to that prop. And another one here, 156, xiao, as in small. Pick a prop for that. Chad went with the Miyagi drum from the movie Karate Kid. It was small drum, and it looked somewhat like the character as well. It does, yeah. You got the thing here, and you got the 2 little balls doing that. Very good. And again, sound effects. That's awesome for sound effects. So next, let's move on to actors. So these are, again, if you don't know what they are, go ahead and click that blog post link in the description, in the show notes. So William Edmides on character 6, half, banned. So we asked you to choose an actor for the letter B to represent that initial in pinyin. Hey guys, so I've got yet another question for you. I can't decide what to use as the B actor between Bill Nye, the science guy, and Bear Grylls, since I know them both so well, not personally, unfortunately. Would it be okay if I use them both for the B initial, or is it best to just use the one to avoid confusion? So I actually answered this one previously. This one would be basically, for this one I would recommend that William, you generally as a rule, just stick to one person. You know, it doesn't matter too much. But also, it doesn't matter too much. So if you really want to go for two people, that's not going to confuse you, is it? Because they're both B, and both know that you know them both very well. I can't see how that would hurt you at all. And just never force yourself to do that, and you'll be fine. You know, just go the easy route, the path of least resistance, or whatever. But yeah, we always give these guidelines and rules, but we're always adding our own rules, and we're always breaking and bending the rules anyway. And they're just guidelines, you know. So if you want to push the limits a little bit or completely change something, then please go ahead. We've had lots of cool stuff that our own clients have invented and added onto the course just because they've had little ideas, you know, along the way. So yeah, don't feel too restricted in that sense. The next one's Devon again on character 12. Ooh. So picking a casting call, picking an actor for that WU, which would be a fictional actor. He chose Wuthering Heights. Heathcliff, Wuthering, W-U. So there's some sort of connection there with the spelling. Even though Heathcliff does not start with a W, there's a strong connection with Emily Bronte's only novel, Wuthering Heights. Yes, he asked, is that okay in your opinion? Again, just like with William above, of course, that's fine. These are only guidelines to help the initial sort of path through the method, the course, a little bit easier. But yeah, please do stuff like that. As long as it makes it easier for you, that's fine. On character 13, Nian, as in year, so N-I would be a female actor that you'd want to choose. She chose the actress Nini from Rise of the Phoenixes. I'm not sure about that one, but as long as you know who that is, that's good. She's hot in my opinion, my honest opinion. I'm glad you're being honest there, Devon. Thank you. Another one, character 16, JIΑO. So again, that's the third time we're mentioning this character in today's podcast. Picking the casting call, that's J-I, so anything with the E-I sound will be a female. He chose Jinyan, Wu Jinyan, story of Yanxi Palace, Yanxi Gongyue, role Yanxi Gongyue, yeah. So again, another fictional, another female Chinese person, which I don't know, I've never heard of, but Devon does, which is the important thing. Okay, so that's about it for the casting calls and the pick of props. The next sort of section is just a kind of a mishmash of all sorts of different stuff we've received. There's some movies in there. There's make a movie lessons. It's a word, new vocab unlocked, as well as just a bunch of other comments and emails that we received. So let's go through some of these. So the next one is from Andy Springer. Andy Springer is actually a guy who lives in Chengdu, works at a local bar, actually, that I really like, and he is smashing Chinese at the moment. He's really, and he's one of our original crew. He is one of our live clients, one of our very first clients back in the day when we were like sort of grinding through and trying to figure out and tweak and perfect the course. And yeah, so great guy. Andy Springer on language learning tripod attentiveness. Can't speak today. So what this is a really inspirational idea I found from Steve Kaufman. He's actually tweaked his own ideas about this recently, but I still like it. The idea of the language learning tripod. You need these three things if you want to learn language effectively. Time, you need to invest the time. You need to have attitude, a good attitude, positive attitude, belief you can do it, and confidence. And the third is attentiveness. You need to pay attention and notice things. This is actually the one part of the tripod that he's updated and changed since making it. But I still like it. I still think it holds true today for me. So Andy says, awesome unit. Going through this now is helping me understand many of the mistakes I was making in my pronunciation. Oh, sorry. So this comment isn't actually about the tripod there. But anyway. The difference between typical E with diphthong, as in a two, like an ow, like a two sound single syllable, and fifth tone E seems so obvious listening to others now, but I wasn't implementing it. Looking forward to more information to clarify my understanding in the next unit. Yeah, me and Phil have talked about, I keep saying me and Phil, sorry, my grammar is terrible. Phil and I have talked about this several times in the past. Again, this was an inspiration from another person that we follow and very much admire, which is Ollie Lynch from Hacking Chinese. I remember seeing this in one of his articles years ago, which was theory is key, but it's only a very small part of it. You know, you need theory. Learning theory improves pronunciation, especially when it comes to pronunciation. So you might think that pronunciation is all about practice, right? You want to get the tones right, you've got to just practice, practice, practice. Or you want to pronounce things more close to a native speaker, practice. Yes, it's like 90% of it. But a lot of things, you need theory to be able to notice things. And that's one of the key topics that we talk about in the video, I guess. And I guess the same thing goes for a lot of areas, like, you know, grammar as well. Grammar is a lot about reading and listening, and of course practicing speaking later on, and writing is fantastic for grammar and solidifying what you know from what you've learned from listening and reading. But having grammar rules pointed out to you, grammar patterns pointed out to you, whether through someone telling you or visually, it can help. It can go towards you having that click moment, that aha moment with the grammar thing. And I think that's what Andy's talking about here. So thanks a lot, Andy. I'm glad that helped. And the next one we have here is from William Edmeades again on bonus SRS, the memory game. A couple of videos from the pronunciation mastery course there. So bonus videos all about SRS, why it's so key, spaced repetition software, and why we include Anki cards for every single thing that we teach you, down to the actors and the sets and the props, and of course any pronunciation thing. I think we have about 10,000 flashcards at this point. And of course, when we expand the course, we're going to have probably around double that, I guess. Anyway, William says, I just have to say the movie scenes we're creating remind me of those little animations you see on the scoreboard when you go bowling, like when you get a split or a strike or something. That's awesome, and that's nothing to do with the actual video, and I've got to really read these comments before making my own comments. But thank you very much, William. I'm glad. I hope that's a positive thing for you. I mean, I hope that makes it more visual or makes it more interesting and fun. You got a little smiley face there on the end, so I assume that's a good thing. Devon Chen on bonus video, the 6 types of Chinese character, part 3 of 3. So we talk about, actually, I'm going to read this first. Okay, yes, it is about the actual video. So the 6 types of Chinese character, we break them down and talk about why, you know, what the 6 types are, especially the most important, the most common 3 types to focus on. He says this video stands out for its expositional clarity. The graphics are well constructed and the explanation economical and efficient. Not too simple, not too complicated, just right. It's really good, thanks. I mean, that's what anyone that's trying to teach someone something, this is pretty much exactly what they want to hear. So thanks, Devon, for that. Harry C on new vocabulary unlocked. He says, or he asks, in the vocabulary videos, you guys make it a point to say, unsuspend these cards in Anki. I'm a bit confused since you don't say that for the other videos. Isn't it the same process we've been doing to unsuspend all the types of cards, or is there something special or different that we should be doing with the vocabulary word review cards? There isn't anything different about how we unsuspend these word review cards compared to how we unsuspend the movie, prop, actor cards. Question mark. Thanks, guys. No, there isn't. It's all in order, right? So you can unsuspend whatever you want to review. You don't necessarily even have to review everything. But when it comes to characters and stuff, you certainly do. You know, characters, words. You can actually, when it comes to sentences, the reason why we suspend everything, you know, this is until we develop the app that we really, really want to develop. But you know, we have our limitations. You can, when it comes to things that are absolute necessities, like characters, these are the absolute necessities. Characters, words. You know, at least words until you built your foundation. That first, I think it's about 500-600 compound words. everything to do with like actors and sets and props, and later on sentences and all that stuff. It's kind of optional because not everyone. We just highly recommend it. We highly recommend it. And when it comes to like with the actors and the props and the sets, just do that. We say you don't have to, but you might as well. So it'll make it. It's very quick, very simple to do the cards. It takes like a nanosecond for each one, and it's going to just save you the trouble of having to look up your actors and stuff and your sets. And what's that prop again for me? Because there might be a while between, like a gap of time between using one or the other. So we just did that for your own convenience in the long term, especially for beginners with the method. But when it comes to sentences, for example, it's all in order. So with sentences, you can you don't have to review or read and listen or unsuspend every single sentence card or dialogue card or whatever it is. You only do the ones that are, well, first of all, you have to do the ones with the asterisks next to it, the very key ones that you'll see in the, because they go together to form paragraphs and opinions later, so they're very vital. But there's also, you should set yourself a limit of one sentence per usage. So say a word or a character has, it's a word or a compound word, new vocabulary unlocked. One word has 3 usages, and it has 2 sentences per usage. So that's 6 sentences in total. You only need to choose your favorite sentence. If you want to be extra efficient, you could choose just 1 sentence per use. So you can see each use of that word in context. But in reality, you can just you can skip over the other sentence in that usage. Or if you want to go the whole hog and it's never going to hurt you to get more input, go ahead and just do all the cards in order as we lay them out. But we just say that we filmed so many of these videos, and we're not going to remember everything that we said. So we every now and then we say stuff like that. So sorry that we confused you, but just unsuspend everything in order. Treat it all in a similar way. Okay, the next comment we have here is from Erin H on Unit 5 wrap-up. Hi, quick Anki question. If I click on the deck Mandarin Blueprint Pronunciation Mastery, does it bring up the cards to review from all units? Or do I need to first review all of the cards in each unit or sub-deck? They're also called child decks or children decks. Then move on to the next unit. To sum up, how and when do I use the deck and sub-decks? So this is, of course, for the Pronunciation Mastery course. So there are 10 units. I don't believe there are flashcards for Unit 10. I think, but anyway, I think it's like 9 units. It's been ages, sorry, since we made the course. I'm trying to think. But we have you'll have like a mother deck in your Anki, and that will just be called like you say, Mandarin Blueprint Pronunciation Mastery. And below that, sort of indented, you'll have like the children decks, Unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So you can just click on the Mandarin Blueprint Pronunciation Mastery, and it will automatically review all of the decks, the total of those reviews. You will review those sort of, I believe it's also in the order of, I think it's randomized as well to some degree. I can't remember exactly, but you just review them all together in bulk. Now we put them separately just in case people only wanted to review cards from certain units. But yeah, that's basically how it goes. And she said, thanks in advance, and I'm really enjoying the course. So that's great to hear. Thanks. The next one's from Sydney Green on character 294. We just did a case study, actually. We just had a chat with Sydney this morning. Or I did, sorry. And he's doing really, really well. 300 characters. He's been struggling with Chinese for a while. And he found our method, and he's just doing so well. He's reading Chinese and he's understanding it, and he's really enjoying the process. And that's just lovely to see that. He says, Shao. This is for character 294, Shao, as in few. New vocabulary unlocked. 这里环境很好，多少人想来呢? So this sentence, does this really mean that's the translation, loads of people are wanting to come? So 多少人想来呢? Does that mean loads of people? Would you not then say 很多人? in lots of people. Would not quite a few people be more appropriate? Well, actually, this is interesting. So if you say 很多人, that means, yeah, it could mean a lot of people, or lots of people. But 多少, yeah, you probably have learnt this word to mean how many or how much, right? And that's the most common usage, but it's also used to mean loads, like how we would say that's loads of people. 多少人要来呢? Or 多少人想来了? 想来呢? So yeah, that's just a sort of a less common usage of that word 多少. So that's really interesting. I found that very interesting and surprising as well when I was first learning about it. Okay, we've got a make a movie lesson. This is, for those who don't know, this is where we bring everything together and we actually learn the Chinese characters. So we combine the actors and the props and the sets, and we bring it all together to represent, they interact with everything to represent the meaning of the character. It's the most fun and creative part of everything. So it's on character 155, D, as in ground or floor. So he said, oh, this is Chad. He's in his childhood home in the backyard because it's fourth tone. Actor is Diane, his landlord. Props, hoe for gardening, the gardening kind. He's put in brackets, thanks for that. And scorpion. I'm hanging out with in my childhood home when I hear a ruckus outside. I walk outside the back door to see my landlord Diane walking a large scorpion on a leash. I ask her what exactly is she doing. She tells me she is over to do some landscaping and has to till the ground, in capital letters. She hands the scorpion a hoe and it takes it with its pincers and starts tilling amazingly fast. She then tells me that scorpions work much better than rototillers for, I don't know what that is, for working on the ground. Because I'm not, I don't know about that sort of stuff. I really should though. In only a few minutes, the scorpion has the ground prepared and my landlord starts planting her new flowers. I love it when Chad does his scenes because he always adds in a few little bits of personality and flavor. A lot of the stuff is like he's already got a fantastic story. He could have stopped two sentences in, but he always adds a lot of just interesting details, and I'm sure that's going to pay off in the long term. And I'm sure it doesn't take him very long by now to do that. You don't have to do it that detailed, but it's always interesting to read Chad's movie scenes, and it's another home run, of course. Dev Chen on character 11, Shen, meaning it means what? Make a movie. So let's have a look. The SH is Xin Lim, a magician. The left prop, which we say represent a human or a man, we usually suggest a man, but he's chosen Melissa Fumara, a beautiful assistant. I guess she's like a good representation of humankind, I guess. That's why I chose her. And the crucifix represents the cross. So this is much shorter because it represents what, and we actually, I remember saying this I think I did this video. What is a very abstract concept. You might think, how could I possibly represent the idea of what? I mean, what is that all about? Oh, okay, yeah, gestures. Gestures, facial expressions. What do you do when you say what? So let's see what he says. The crucifix disappears from the magician's hands, reappears from his mouth with smoke. Melissa is amazed. What just happened? Boom. So again, if you're not on the course, which you should be by now, just go and find out for yourself. It sounds crazy, and you should be skeptical of this sort of stuff, but it works, and that's a really simple, really quick, really effective movie scene. We've got quite a long one here from Jay, but it's a great email. He says, hey guys, loving the course. It's just terrific. And I can really see all of the hard work and deep thought you've put into it. Years ago, I had a book that used memory techniques to learn meaning, pronunciation, characters, and tones. He might be, and tones. So he's not referring to the Heisig. I'm not sure what he's referring to there. I would be interested to know actually, Jay. I thought it was the perfect answer. As I've long been attracted to such things, but it was full of fairies and dwarfs. They represented second and fourth tones, apparently. Stories I didn't relate to. That's really annoying. And hundreds of sound words. I got overwhelmed rather quickly. Your innovations with resorting initials and finals and memory palace stuff is far superior. Well, I must say that that's not our actual innovation. We have our own innovations relating to the method, and we definitely added and changed a lot to it. But the original innovations go. The credit has to go to Serge Gorodish from the Country of the Blind. The original idea of that initials and finals idea. He actually, I talked to him on his website and said, "This is fantastic. This is," and we've gone through that. And he is the one that originally came up with that specific idea. So yeah, go and check out his blog at Country of the Blind at blogspot.com. The memory palace stuff is far superior, and with all of the personal connections, I don't anticipate any capacity issues. I guess you mean, yeah, like running out of space in your brain or in your bathroom, in your mind or whatever it is. Yeah, that's not an issue whatsoever. I'm sure everyone has their own story of the first time they were remembering a character, then had that thought, wait, if Katina is in that house and it's not whatever, it's AN. So you think of the place and then boom, you've got the pronunciation. Mine hit me a couple of days ago and made me chuckle out loud. Anyway, great job. Keep it up. Now on to my question. Okay, this is the actual question. By the way, got an email about a case study after level 5. Yep, we do like to ask our clients for a case study like we've done with Sydney and Chad recently after they reach a certain level. So if anyone else is listening and you either received that email or you want to talk to us about the method, how you're doing with it, let us know. He'd also be, Jay says he'd be happy to do a case study, but he wants to wait a little longer till he's a bit further along. That's fine. So pacing, this is his main question, pacing. As time goes by, some of my early cards are getting sizable increments between reviews. I have a question about how to rate myself in Anki, namely, how quickly should I recognize a character? I'm getting them, but sometimes I need to think a little bit before I get the full movie fully recalled. I'm wondering what the break point should be between clicking hard versus good. Maybe just remembering them is okay for now, and we'll work on speed of recognition when we get to that level that involves something more like reading. Maybe I should be slowing down and working each character until I recognize it quickly. Don't know, so I thought I'd ask. Well, I actually gave him quite a long reply to this. I'll try and remember all the points, but basically, you click hard when it involves several connections in your mind, or it takes, I'd say, more than 5 seconds. If it takes more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom. Okay, well then, if it takes longer than that, then it's probably hard, and then it will come up quicker. It will come up like I think it's like 50% earlier than it would normally. So that next time is going to be, you're going to get it quicker. So you'll be able to hit normal probably or good next time. Also, if you're making connections, so you remember a character, but you first have to go into your memory palace and say, okay, so that was in this place, and who was there again? Oh, it's Charlie Chaplin. All right, and then it was and then you get the character. Maybe that might be hard too. Maybe, but it's all about a feeling. It's all about just that's the basic gist of it. And another thing I remember saying to Jay was, you're learning a heck of a lot right now. He's not actually, he's really doing well with the course, but he's I think he's about 100 characters in. So he's just really starting to hit his stride with this method. But he's still learning loads of stuff. He's unlocking new words and reading sentences and still learning new characters, and there's a lot to go, and I'm sure he's got a daily set of tasks. So don't worry if don't try and rush towards reading. You'll get there. Let me just make sure I've answered that properly. So maybe just remembering them is okay for now. Yes, remembering them is okay for now. Yeah, absolutely. As well as make sure to practice writing them at least once. Just once, maybe twice, as you review them. But yeah, you pass that card. You remembered it eventually. Fine, hit hard, but don't worry about, I have to make sure I remember these characters easily before I want to move on to reading. No, jump into it, get that mass exposure as quickly as you can. So also Jay just added some extra little things that your listeners might be interested in. In the movie review cards with the English on the front, I found myself getting cued too much by the pinyin. I felt like he was cheating. So all you do for that, you go to browse and you go to cards and you just change the word pinyin with the two wobbly brackets and you just cut it and paste it onto the back of the card instead of the front. And now he doesn't see the pinyin on the front of the card. It might not suit everyone, he says, but it's a good tip to offer as an alternative hack. Oh, and there's some other comments here, but it's very specific. You guys can read it in the show notes if you like, but nothing that needs addressing right now. And we've got one final email from Chad. He says, not sure if you guys were looking for any more ideas for podcast guests, but I've been binge watching this channel the last few days. It's called Lao Y, as in WHY 86, Lao Y 86. And it's a pretty cool channel. It's all about his life in China and his experiences. Great channel, funny. I'm learning a bit about the culture, which is nice. Be awesome to have him on with you guys and then see him talk about the Mandarin Blueprint method on his channel. He has a few shows where he talks about learning Chinese. Well, I didn't know that. I actually know about this guy. I think, is that Sea Milk? I'm not fully into that YouTube community there, but I believe he collaborates with Serpent ZA, who's very popular, and who's someone who I actually watched, I don't know, seven years ago, maybe longer. Yeah, 7 years ago before I came to China for the second time. They're both great guys, and they know what they're talking about. And they've got some cojones as well. The stuff they talk about on their YouTube channel, especially living in China. Got big respect for that. But you know, I'd love to have him on. I mean, we're incredibly busy, and I'm sure he is too, and they both are. But I'd be very open to opening up some sort of communication there. We'd have a lot to learn from each other, I think. So, all right, well, that's it for the comments and the emails for today. I think we'll just leave it there. So, as usual, guys, if you've got any questions whatsoever that can't wait until the next podcast, or then go ahead and send it directly to contact@mandarinblueprint.com. And if you want something on the podcast or a comment about the podcast or whatever it is related to the podcast @mandarinblueprint.com. So thank you very much for listening. I hope the podcast hasn't been too terrible without Phil, and I'll see you next time.